Welcome back to the channel, my Dragon Ball fans, and today guys we have to explore an insane theory for Dragon Ball Project H 1000. This is Grand Saiyaman, Great Saiyaman, the future open world project, which maybe this is what this game is. So let's just picture for a second something that I know lots of you guys would absolutely love. Just imagine for a second an absolutely massive open world where you are the new Great Saiyaman evolution, where you go into the open world, you explore the world, there's a massive story, there's online components, and imagine for a second a combination between Dragon Ball Xenoverse and games like Genshin Impact. The open world madness of this, including stuff like, navigation, like in Spiderman. I mean, these guys could literally explode. So let's just dive deep into this one, because this one is a crazy one. The theory. Okay, so many people online have straight away said, okay, so GS in the costume of the character could stand for the Great Saiyaman. The Great Saiyaman, as you guys know, was Gohan's iconic alter ego from the Buu saga, which was revived in Super Hero as the ultimate suburban superhero gig. The outfit is pretty obvious, quite similar. Tech jacket, shoulder pads, belt buckle, echoing the original G from the emblem, but evolved for Age 1000 with the Capsule Corporation flair. He has silver hair, maybe it's a hybrid between Saiyan descendants, maybe Pan's kid or Gohan's grandchild, or something like that, right? Blending human with Super Saiyan potential on genes. Now, Super Hero ended with Gohan Beast and Piccolo Orange and the Saiyaman family crushing Cell Max. Fast forward centuries to Age 1000, Earth's heroes are professional force of protection, but a new threat may appear. I know, Red Ribbon Army, for example, time-displaced villains, could be anything, right? Doesn't matter, because of course that's just a excuse to make the game, as in a new threat comes to Earth. And then we need a new Great Saiyaman. The trailer vision is quite obvious. You have holographic hero archives, which you unlock moves from the Dragon Ball history, for example. You train in the real world, obviously, with different enemies, and you fight, and maybe you unlock different scenarios of training and with different trainers and different schools effectively. And yeah, this is basically Super Hero 2 as an epic sequel to the movie. Alright, again, this is crazy stuff. Now, I want you guys to remember some games which are releasing or have released very recently, such as Ananta, which is releasing very soon. We have the 7 Deadly Sins Origin, and also we have Arcanite's Enfield. Now, all these 3 games have something quite interesting. They all follow the new formula, which has been very popular in the last couple of years, of the open world adventure action games with co-op elements or with progression story and some gacha there. If obviously it depends on the game. Ananta will not have character gacha, it will just have maybe like costumes and abilities gacha or weapons gacha or whatever, right? But that doesn't matter. What matters is look at the combat in Ananta and compare it with what we have seen in the trailer. It looks a bit similar, right, in terms of the fact that you're fighting against some goons and you can string different combos in your moveset. And again, it just shows this is very interesting, because I am pretty sure Bandai Namco knows that just releasing Xenoverse 3 just like that, it would not fly, because Xenoverse 3 it would just be Xenoverse 2 with just improved graphics or with just a bit better combat. Again, it would not fly. People have seen that for like many years, and Xenoverse 2 was an extension of Xenoverse 1, kind of the same thing, just with more content, but it was just the same thing. So people now need something new, something different. So this is where things can get really crazy. So let's just speculate for a second on how the combat would work. It would be a fluid, explosive hero action combat, right? The core loop would be a free-flow arena fighter meets action adventure. The combat will be a ballad of destruction. You have light and heavy, potentially, melee chains into aerial combat. Then you would have potentially some ground slams, maybe AoE crackering. Then you will have some ki blast as projectiles, and as you build and dodge your enemies, you can build your special skills to release your burst attack or your special attack, such as, for example, a Kamehameha, or a Gali gun, or a Piccolo special beam cannon, or other stuff. You could also maybe potentially have some gadgets, right? So like sticky bombs, drones, who knows, right? Then afterwards, maybe once you build your, I guess your level and stuff like that, you would have a timer in which you could potentially transform to Super Saiyan, for example, but then that will have a timer, and then after that your transformation will go back to normal. So as obviously in the manga or the anime, when you go Super Saiyan, you get tired eventually, right? You can't be Super Saiyan forever. Like in the fights in the anime, you guys know that, Goku or Gohan, they would go Super Saiyan, and after a strong fight, they would go back to normal because of, they're being tired, it's obviously it demands a lot of stamina, like Super Saiyan 3, for example. In the beginning, Goku, it would take him quite a long time to keep that form. After further training, he would be able to keep it for longer, but even so, the transformation would demand a lot of physical effort on his side, and it would stress his body, so he would only be able to keep it for like a number of minutes, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then go back to normal, because of course it's a short burst of power to basically finish off your enemy. It's not a normal state of being there forever, because then it just uses too much energy. Now, of course, the game could also have environmental destructions. You could punch through walls or shortcuts, same as we've seen in other games like Spiderman, for example. You can hurl cars as projectiles. Who knows, right? It just something like that, right? Now let's just talk about the online features. It could have a seamless multiplayer mode. You can drop in on co-op patrols. You can squad with friends as custom Saiyaman or Piccolo disciples or Heirs of Pan or the Hero Agency Hub, for example, right? And there will be like some sort of like guild-like base missions, which would be customizable with the Toriyama's characters. And then you could have, of course, a separate mode online, which would be a specific PvP arena, such as the World Martial Arts Tournaments, which would be a massive coliseum, which you would have ranked matches and maybe 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, of course, and then you would have these sort of modes of survival or fighting against other humans. During the online mode, of course, in the open world, you could also have some pretty awesome stuff, such as live events, seasonal threats like Mira invasion or crossovers from summoning Beerus. You could have leaderboards for most crimes stopped, for example, and you could have also cross progression between different game modes, of course, and also different consoles, such as PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, which would encourage people to play the game more on different systems, such as modern games. At the moment, they do have cross progression, which is really cool. Now, let's go back to the actual world. How would the world mechanics actually work? Like the patrol features, would it be like a Spider-Man sort of game? So, imagine this, you're booting up the game and you're entering a massively seamless open world. West City 2.0, for example. You have mega structures, you have flying cars, and you have Capsule Corporation towers, right? Scion colonies could be in the wilds. Holographic billboards are showing up in the city with like different cyber missions, different stats, right? There could be, for example, stuff like dynamic crime alerts, same as Spider-Man, which could be pinged to your visor. Red ribbon bots, robbing banks, paella gangs, mugging, or rogue Majins terrorizing suburbs, for example, right? Transversal would be, of course, full flight from the jump, 100%. Super speed dashes in the skyline. It could be also like some sort of like swinging with energy tethers in between buildings, like Spider-Man. I believe it's going to be mostly flying, unless you have certain types of archetypes in your character. Maybe some archetypes can't fly, but they can run fast. I don't know, right? But it could be that you can choose different transversal abilities. Air dashing combos, you could chain them potentially in your dives. Then you could have some gadgets. This is really important because the Capsule Corporation is known for its gadgets. So Bulma could potentially let you do some, certain things, or she could basically create some gadgets for you to use in the open world. For example, You could use some gadgets to find the Dragon Balls, you could use her gadgets to do photos on the street or something, you could use the gadgets, for example, to like use like capsules such as the Senzu snacks, or use different vehicles, or like these things basically to use them in your aid in the open world when you fight against enemies, right? Now, with this, the open world, one thing that could happen as well is random boss invasions, right? We've seen this in Diablo, for example, in Diablo 4. For example, you have the Frieza Force remnants crashing in cities or in areas, and then effectively you have to go there, you have to fast travel or go to the area and fight against them, defeat them, and gain certain rewards. You can co-op with other people, so you can start the event with other people, and maybe there's even world bosses, such as, for example, like suddenly every couple of hours a world boss will appear, like Golden Frieza would just appear suddenly, and you have to go and fight against him and defeat him to basically make sure that you earn that loot, right? So that could be another possibility, because we've seen it many times games do these things as well. Now, let's look at the leveling and progression system, because this is very interesting thing here, because they could do so many things with this particularly. Now, you could have potentially dual trees, you could have a hero rank, which unlocks gadgets and suits, right? So you could have like flight boosters, stealth cloaking, you could have like grappling hooks, you could have like smoke bombs, you could have some of these gadgets which kind of help you do certain things in the open world and, you know, empower you doing like certain missions. And then we have potentially a second tree, which could be the power tree, the combat XP, which branches into different schools, like the turtle school, the crane school, the sword school, right, from Gotenks. And so this could be something that could be there from the get-go, right? Now, then you could have the legendary skills, which is basically you can absorb different like powers from your ancestors and enable different transformations, for example. Now, the skill points could be from quests, for example. You could have skill points earned from infiltration, from fight, from hacking, stuff like that. And then maybe the game could even allow for New Game Plus difficulties, which with these things in New Game Plus you may even be able to gain access to new transformations, for example, right? So again, it's a possibility. Or in the end game, you can then grind and effectively earn more power and access to Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, or even Super Saiyan 4, and of course Ultra Instinct, right? Now, this would need maybe a lot of grinding, which would make sense, of course, and it would be really cool because that way people would be kind of like enticed to keep playing the game even after finishing the story, because they would get better and better, and maybe there's going to be even more like end game combat situations, like more like end game events, which require you to have a high level and also the ability to transform in higher transformations to be able to defeat the enemies. Now, basically, the question is Age 1000 basically Superhero 2 converted into a game, like the sequel of Dragon Ball Super Hero into a game. Effectively, following the events of Super Hero in the future, you have the Galactic Patrol and the Grey Cyberman, and it is literally a melting of these two things together into one single game, taking the best from Xenoverse and the best from the newer games such as Ananta, Genshin Impact, or Arknight's Enfield. Like, it is perfect, right? It's 100% will be a perfect combination. Gohan's everyman heroism basically would evolve into a playable epic blending of blockbuster action in a post-Sparking Zero world with open world beasts, effectively enemies, events, and it would just go so well. Like, the whole combination of having an open world combined with the evolution of the combat from Xenoverse and Sparking Zero, and combined on top of that with random events, with leveling, with end game, with raids, with certain world bosses, with like all these things together, it would make for an infinite forever game. Like, people could just play this game forever basically, because you could just add more stuff on top. Every time you could add more things, like you could add more stories, you could add more enemies, you could add more transformations, and honestly, I believe this is the natural next step. We need a game which is not just the Xenoverse 2 but in better graphics. We need a game which is an evolution of this, which makes use of the newer technology and learns from other games from Asia, such as Chinese games and Korean games, because they know what to do. I mean, Genshin Impact made literally billions. They made billions because they know how to make the audience keep playing their games. And the most important part is to make everyone happy. Genshin Impact has content for casual players, it has content for hardcore players, like some of these challenges and like dungeons, which are really difficult. It has content for story lovers, it has content for people who just like to uncover treasures and explore and just try out new characters, so it just has content for pretty much everyone at the same time. And this is where things could get really cool, because this way you could literally have a game which would be for everyone at the same time, and everyone would be able to develop the game as they want, in their story, in their character, in their leveling, and focus on what they like the most. Like for example, when I played Where Winds Meet, which is a really good game, free to play by the way, in this game effectively you can play how you want. If you just want to do the story, do the story. If you want to play the race, you can do the race. Like you can level up your character and focus on the things that matter the most to you. So this way everyone can then play in the game, and that way the game is going to be even more popular, and then there's going to get even more money from revenue and from sales, and they can build even more stuff on top. So this is the secret sauce, an open world action game in which this will be effectively Great Cyberman 2.0, the future. Superhero 2 confirmed. It's not yet, obviously. It's not gonna be like confirmed yet because we don't have the confirmation. This is just effectively speculation at this point in time. But guys, this speculation is, I don't know, like I feel like we're getting somewhere. Like this is of course something that may not happen at all. It could just be a Xenoverse 3 and that's it, just boring Xenoverse 3 and with just better graphics. But honestly, I don't believe so, because after 6 to 7 years in development, you don't just make Xenoverse 3 and call it a day. No, this is something much more bigger, because this game has been in development before Sparking Zero, so that is already pretty damn crazy. So guys, that's it for today's video. As always, I shall see you later in the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and guys, see you all later.